Hello, everyone. I thought that I would go live with chapter 4 of Mountains of Spices. And I'm going to wait a few minutes just to see if anyone will join me. I hope everyone has had a good Sunday. Mine was very quiet. We ended up going to reconciliation and mass last night, and so we have been home all day. Trying to straighten up here. So I'm hoping that everyone is doing well. We'll pray for you. If not, you can put your prayer requests in the chat box. This is live, so there will be no editing. Of course, I don't edit my stories anyway. The book that we're doing is Mountains of Spices, and it is the sequel to Hind's Feet on High Places. It is what happened to Little Much Afraid. So tonight we are going to be on the mountain of Camphire, which is the fruit of the Spirit, joy, and it is the victory of love. So I'm going to wait just a few more minutes and see if anyone comes and joins me. I hope you're liking this book. I think you are. And I'm glad for that. It's a wonderful book, and it will go down as a classic as well, in my estimation. It's Hind's Feet on High Places moves me every time, and this book does the same. So, okay, wait another 30 seconds here, and then I will get started with our chapter. I hope you can hear me okay. The microphone in my computer is dying, so I'm going to have to get another microphone, but all in good time, all in good time. Please, at the end of this video, I will put in the chat box or in the description box the link to my Patreon page. Please consider becoming a patron and supporting this channel. The levels are very, very economical. Level 1 is $1 a month. Level 2 is $5 a month. And level 3 is $20 a month. So I'm not expecting great financial blessings, but I am expecting some support from somewhere. Anyway, all right, it's been almost 4 minutes. I think I'll wait one more minute and then we'll get started. That will give everyone about 5 minutes to get here. It's been a strange, hot day here in South Central Texas. So, yeah. And someone said we're supposed to have rain tomorrow. So here we go. Just about that time, I am going to not minimize, but maybe make this screen just a little bit smaller so that I can see my book here. You know, I miss a real book. I think I have it, but I won't swear to it. Okay, so here we go. Mountains of Spices. And I'm not going to be where I can see the chat box very well. So I will answer your questions or comments after I read the chapter. So here we go. Well, and of course, it just changed on me. Mountain of Camphor, joy, the victory of love. I'm waiting. It's buffering. A few days after the experience recorded in the last chapter, the king again called Grace and Glory and told her that he wished to take her to another part of the high places. And he led her right across the mountain of pomegranates to the next part of the same mountain range. Up there on the high places, above all the clouds and mist of the valley, the sky was always gloriously unclouded, and the light so clear that it was possible to look out across immense distances. On this particular early morning, for the times of solitary fellowship and communion with the king were generally during the very early hours before the work of the day started. Grace and Glory saw that though all was calm and clear up there on the mountain, the valleys were filled with billowing clouds, so that they seemed to be looking out over a sea of swirling waters, and from time to time thunder came rolling up from the depths beneath. After crossing the mountain of pomegranates, they came to another which the king told her was called the mountain of camphor, for it was specially set apart for the cultivation of that spice. The camphor, or henna bushes, which grew up there, yielded a most lovely perfume and also a costly dye. Grace and Glory looked around with great delight. Instead of the pomegranate trees of the first mountain, these slopes were covered with fragrant little bushes from which hung clusters of small white flowers with the sweetest scent imaginable. These were the bushes which yielded the spice, which in our language is called joy. It seemed that these fragrant groves had a peculiar attraction for the birds. Never in her life had Grace and Glory seen such multitudes of them assembled in one place. Every bush seemed to be swaying with the motion of alighting or departing birds. They flew in great flocks, weaving beautiful patterns with their feathers glistening or glittering against the sky, and the moving of their wings stirred the air, so that as they swooped or rushed past it was as though gusts of wind blew over the mountainside. All the birds were singing together as melodiously and diversely as an orchestra of musical instruments, until the whole area seemed alive with beating wings, rushing wind and song, while everything was drenched in the sweet, tingling perfume of the camphor bushes. It was so lovely that Grace and Glory could not restrain herself, but laughed aloud with joy and clapped her hands. As they walked along the slope, the king told her a little about the nature of the camphor bushes which produce the fruit of joy. He explained to her that before the perfumed oil could be produced by the plant, the ground around the bushes needed to be manured with a bitter substance, which the roots seemed alive, which the roots of the bushes drew in from the soil and changed into the oil of gladness. There were certain seasons when his workmen treated the soil in this way, just before the heavy winter rains and snows began, when everything on the bushes faded and fell to the ground and the branches were left completely bare. As he told her this, the king looked at his companion and said to her with one of his beautiful smiles, "The season when the bushes are stripped bare and the bitter substance is poured into the soil and is left to be watered by the rains of heaven is called up here the night of sorrow. But this present season, when the bushes are all laden with blossom and the oil is ready to be extracted from them, is the morning of joy, when all the sorrow and bitter experiences are changed into gladness. Listen to the birds singing grace and glory and see if you can understand their song." They stood together for a few moments in the silence, and suddenly the singing of the birds became audible as a lovely song which she could understand quite clearly. It was this: "Hark to love's triumphant shout! Joy is born from pain. Joy is sorrow inside out. Grief remade again. Broken hearts, look up and see. This is love's own victory. Here, mar things are made anew. Filth is here made clean. Here are robes, not rags for you. Mirth where tears have been, where sin's dreadful power was found. Grace doth now much more abound. Hark, such songs of jubilation every creature sings. Great the joy of every nation. Love is King of kings. See, ye blind ones, shout, ye dumb. Joy is sorrow overcome." As she listened, Grace and Glory remembered the long, bitter, and difficult journey which she herself had made up to the high places, when sorrow and suffering had been her companions, and the long night of sorrow had seemed sometimes as though it would never end. As she recalled that journey, she thought that never had she heard so lovely a song or understood the glorious truth that joy is sorrow overcome and transformed. "If other nights of sorrow must come to me," she said to herself, "I can never fear nor dread them again, for I know they are only seasons when the camphor bushes of the king are prepared and made ready to produce the oil of gladness. Oh, how lovely his thoughts and his plans are! How great is his wonderful goodness and loving kindness! His ways of grace past finding out. Ah, that I may always react to sorrow in such a way that it will be overcome and be changed into his joy." Here and there on the slopes grew great spreading trees, and in the shade of one of these sat down. In the shade of one of these, the two sat down and began to talk. "The other nights of sorrow must come to me," she said herself. Okay. They sat down to talk. From the mountain of Camphire, they could look out on the dazzling white peaks of the still higher places and could see the summit of the Black Mountain just appearing above the clouds and mist. And once again, the contrast between the joy and the beauty of the slopes on which they were sitting and the desolation of the ruined mountain opposite struck Grace and Glory with a sensation of almost unbearable pity and pain. As though he read her very thoughts and spoke in answer to them, she heard the voice of the king saying, Grace and Glory, have you ever thought of what joy it is to me to be a savior? To be able to take something which has been marred and spoiled and ruined by evil, and to produce out of it something lovely and good and enduring, something which can never again be spoiled. No cost can possibly be too great in order to accomplish such a triumph as that. Whatever the price, love will pay it exultantly and with joy, joy unspeakable and full of glory. As he spoke, he looked across at the charred black summit of the mountain opposite as it just appeared above the clouds of swirling mist, and his whole face was alight with the glory of love and joy, impossible to describe. Presently he began to sing another of the mountain songs, and in the words and the melody there was such a blessing of sorrow, oh, such a blending of sorrow and joy, that Grace and Glory sat as though lost in wondering awe. The cry of all distorted things, why hast thou made us thus? To bear the anguish which life brings. Why didst thou not love us? So marred that God himself must weep, fit only for the rubbish heap. The cry of every breaking heart, why were we born for this? Evil alone is made our part, and nothing of earth's bliss. Why didst thou give us human birth, if we may know no love on earth? The cry of each despairing mind ascends before love's throne. Behold us, God, or art thou blind? Can we be blamed alone? If thou be there, then answer us. Why make us, or why make us thus? And love's voice answers from across, I bear it all with you. I share with you in all your loss. I will make all things new. None suffer in their sin alone. I made, I bear, I atone. There was a long silence when the song ended, and then the king said, You know, Grace and Glory, it is enough for the disciple to be as his Lord, and to learn also to overcome evil with good. There's absolutely no experience, however terrible, or heartbreaking, or unjust, or cruel, or evil, which you can meet in the course of your earthly life that can harm you, if you will but let me teach you how to accept it with joy and to react to it triumphantly, as I did myself, with love and forgiveness, and with willingness to bear the results of wrong done by others. Every trial, every test, every difficulty and seemingly wrong experience through which you may have to pass is only another opportunity granted to you of conquering an evil thing and bringing out of it something to the lasting praise and glory of God. You sons and daughters of Adam, in all your suffering and sorrow, are the most privileged of all beings, for you are to be perfected through suffering and to become the sons and daughters of God with his power to overcome evil with good. If only you realized your destiny, how you would rejoice at every experience of trial and tribulation, and even in the persecution which comes your way, you would count it all joy. You would take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions and distresses for Christ's sake. For when you are weak, then you learn how to be made strong. Ponder over the things which I have told you up here on the mountain of joy. And as we go down into the valley, and you meet again with the evil and cruel things which torment your relatives down there, yes, and with their unloving reactions to your desire to share your joy with them, remember the lesson which you have learned up here on this mountain and count it all joy, for it all constitutes a glorious opportunity whereby you may learn to overcome evil with good and to share in the victory of love. Then they went on their way again, leaping down the mountainside towards the valley. And in the heart of Grace and Glory, there was a joy such as she had never before experienced, and a completely new understanding of the purpose of their work down there in the places of sorrow and evil. And that's the end of chapter 4. Let me get out of this here. So, the end of chapter 4 of Mountains of Spices, the Mountain of Camphire, joy, the victory of love. And I see no one has joined us this evening. That's okay. I enjoyed reading the chapter. And I hope as you read it or as you listen to it at your leisure, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. Remember to take time to be still with him and know that he is God.